mystery and the revelation of the mystery, another gospel. If any man preach any other gospel unto you than that which we have preached, let him be accursed. Galatians chapter 1 verse 8 to 9. The apostle Paul here is drawing a contrast between the gospel he preaches and the gospel others preach. He is actually separating his preaching from everybody else. He is plainly stating that if any man or angel preaches anything contrary to what he already preached and taught them, let them be accursed. This very statement is something that we must consider seriously. Paul was saying that he was the one who had the true gospel and he didn't care whoever or wherever or whatever the gospel would come from. If it didn't line up with what he was proclaiming, then it was not the true gospel and they should be removed. The apostle Paul was so dogmatic when it came to the gospel. He was a man who positively knew what the true gospel was. The truth is, if we don't know the true gospel, then we will never recognize when the gospel is perverted. We will think anything and everything that comes out of the Bible is gospel, when in fact that is what confuses the majority of the church today, not after man. Paul gives a certified legal statement, but I certify you, brethren, that the gospel which was preached of me is not after man. For I neither received it of man, neither was I taught it. Galatians chapter 1, verse 11 to 12. Paul again draws a contrast in saying that he was not just preaching the same thing that everybody else was preaching. It did not come from the 12 disciples who were with Jesus in the flesh. It did not come from his earlier training as a Hebrew and the intensive education that he received from the religious schools he attended. Neither did it come from the eyewitness accounts from the people who saw and heard Jesus in the flesh. Paul knew that the only true gospel had to come by the revelation of Jesus Christ, and if it came from any other way, then it was a man made religion and not the true gospel. Only by revelation could men come to the true gospel, and that is exactly how Paul received the truth and the knowledge of the gospel he proclaimed, the revelation of Jesus Christ. But by revelation of Jesus Christ, for the first time in the human history, God chose a man to open his eyes to the greatest revelation that he has ever given to men. That man was the Apostle Paul, and the revelation that God the Father gave Paul was Jesus Christ. This is what makes Paul's testimony and knowledge so different than all the other writers and apostles before him. They came the earthly wrote while Paul received it totally and completely by revelation. This is why he was so dogmatic in what he declared. All of Paul's epistles were written based on and centered on the revelation of Jesus Christ and his knowledge and understanding of that revelation. God did not just give Paul a revelation of principles and certain doctrines to preach. Rather, God gave Paul a revelation of a person, and that person is Jesus Christ, and all that he wrote was based on him and who he is. This is the very heart of the true gospel, for the true gospel is the revelation of Jesus Christ. It is also the very foundation rock upon which the church is built. From this revelation is the fullness of God, the eternal purpose of God, all truth, knowledge, wisdom, understanding, life, joy, peace, redemption, righteousness, power, and victory. The Apostle Paul's background. Before the Apostle Paul was saved, he was very zealous in his faith as a Jew. He stated, exceedingly zealous of the traditions of my father. His goal was to be the greatest and most devoted Jew and rabbi in all the nation of Israel, above many my equals in my own nation. His goal was also to become a member of the Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin was a selected group of Jewish rabbis. It was a group of 70 of the most elite of all the rabbis. Not just anyone could become a member of the group. The Sanhedrin was the highest position in the Jewish faith. Paul's goal was to be in that group, and in order for him to become a member, he would have to make a name for himself. This would mean that he would have to do something that would both get their attention and approval. What both the Sanhedrin the most was that they were losing many members of the Jewish synagogues to this newly formed group of Christians. Paul took it on as a mission both from God and from the Sanhedrin to try and rid the world of this anti God and anti Jewish sect. Paul said, I persecuted the church of God and wasted it. He did just that until God showed him the truth, the liberating secret. But when it pleased God in Galatians chapter 1 verse 15, after Paul's testimony, he speaks of the time element in his revelation, but when. This refers to the time God chose to reveal himself to Paul. We are not in control of the time. Or is it controlled by something I say or do? We don't go deeper in God on our time. Rather, it is God's selected timing. He controls the revelation. This also speaks of something that pleased God. This must have pleased God greatly because he waited for over 4,000 years to finally unfold his ultimate plan and purpose for man. And Paul was the very first human being to make it known. Who separated me? This separation is God cutting a spiritual umbilical cord that ties us to our worldly identification, religious affiliation, and world attachments. This separates us from all the carnal concept for who we think we are and who we think God is, and brings us to the revelation knowledge of who He really is, to reveal His Son in me. Paul said, For it pleased God to reveal His Son in me. This revelation was and is the greatest liberating secret and truth given to man. Nothing can surpass this revelation, because this is God Himself in man. This was the mystery that was kept hidden since the world began, which was revealed to Paul. Christ in you, the hope of glory. This was the treasure in earthen vessels. This was the riches of the glory of God being revealed to Paul. This was so profound to Paul because it was not just Christ in heaven nor just the historical Christ, rather, it was Christ in him. This very revelation is not being proclaimed in the church today. When a person stands up and testifies, they normally share about the goodness of God, the blessings and the healings, which is good, and we thank God for it. But few ever stand up and declare the revelation of Christ in him. It is because this revelation is still being kept secret from even the church today. We hear of many teachings about the book of Revelation truths, which are good, but very few that proclaim and declare exactly what Paul said: God revealed His Son in me. I confer not with flesh and blood. This very statement proves that this revelation of Christ was at a different time and was not the same account that he had on the road to Damascus in the book of Acts. The Damascus Road account, Paul was instructed to go into the city and meet a man named Ananias. This was Paul's conversion to Christ and not the same revelation that he speaks of in Galatians chapter 1. To God be the glory. God bless you.